Welcome everyone to our episode 132. In today's episode, I have an honor guest, Dr. Elizabeth Davidson. We are going to discuss topics about this healthcare system that has been broken, and for that, we need to answer one big question. What is the future of healthcare, or what would you like to be the future of healthcare? That would be a much better question. Well, Dr. Elizabeth Davidson has been a health revolutionary since she was 10 years old. For decades, she has been helping people solve unsolvable symptoms. Her latest project is building a new health based healthcare system, and she created a program for holistic health professionals to bring this vision to life. She's passionate about life, health, music, and skiing. She lives in a yurt in Vermont with her teen daughter, Elena. Well, that's the Spanish pronunciation of Elena.
The correct pronunciation, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for being here, for being the guest of my podcast. And I'm really excited to talk about your story, your trajectory. So let's begin with that. How did you arrive to this journey of healthcare?
Well, it's been my entire life journey. So I was a really sick kid, and for no really obvious reason, like we grew most of our own food and had a pretty holistic lifestyle, but still I started suffering with migraines when I was 4 and joint pain when I was 7. And I had bronchitis all the time, and I wound up taking lots of antibiotics and wound up with gut problems and skin problems and just, one thing after another until I was just plagued with chronic and autoimmune illness. And I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome and IBS and all kinds of different things. And, in my bio, when I say I've been a health revolutionary since I was 10, I say that because that's when I really recognized that the medications I was being given were making me worse. And so I started refusing to take them.
Okay.
Because every time I took one, I wound up with more symptoms. And I knew that couldn't be right. So that's when I started looking at where does health come from and how can I be healthier rather than how can I just get rid of my symptoms. And I think that's a really key thing to look at when you're looking at overall health and what our healthcare system should look like, and it doesn't really. So that was really the seed of the revolution I'm working to create. And then over the years, just, trying everything I could imagine to get well and to build my health and working really hard on that and, getting a doctorate in the midst of that and getting to the point where I don't have chronic illnesses anymore. So in that process, of course, helping lots of other people solve those, but feeling like I want to help more. And to do that, I think there needs to be a perspective shift to really help people recognize all the health that they do have and can have and where health comes from. So that's the short version.
Nice. I was thinking that you were 10 years old when you said that you didn't want to take more medication. So did your parents support that, or what was the intuition or for me at 10 years old, it's very young. You're a child. And how did you manage to relate the medication to what's happening to you?
Well, at that point, I had already been really sick for 6 years. So for more than half my life. And I was always, pretty smart and good at reasoning and figuring things out, really good at puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I missed a lot of school because I was just too sick to go. So I had a lot of time to think. And when I started refusing the medications, I had good reasoning behind that. And my parents couldn't argue my reasoning. And I think they understood. I mean, I think they were also upset and hopefully frustrated with how I was not progressing with my health. And
Mm-hmm.
so at that point, weren't buying into the whole medication is the answer reasoning that was happening in the healthcare system and what the pediatrician was doing for me. You know, they could see that I wasn't getting better, that I was only getting worse. So, yeah, it was okay.
And I think that when you are a child, you are also more attuned to your body and to how without too much complication, without too much uh, deep thinking or scientific thinking, you just feel that what you are taking is not doing anything but worsening how you feel, no, and the way the energy that you have, etc., no, other many other symptoms that you discuss that you have. So what was the what were the first or the several actions that you took when you were 10 and you said, I don't want to take this medication, so what am I going to do, or how was the healing process started?
Well, the first thing I did was I started changing my diet. So I started doing elimination diets, even though I don't even know if anyone had come up with that term at that point. I had never heard that term. It's not what I called it then, but I remember just cutting out one food at a time and seeing if I felt different. So really, I started experimenting on myself. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I also started researching herbal medicines and plant medicines and looking around at what plants were out there in the yard and finding the medicinal ones. It's something I've always been fascinated with. And yeah, just experimenting on that kind of small level because I was only 10. You know, I didn't really have a lot of options. But as I got older, you know, I looked into more things. I started like I had a book. I don't know where that book came from. I still have it, but it's called Staying Healthy with the Seasons by Elson M. Haas. And
Mm-hmm.
I had that when I was little. And I also had one called Folk Medicine. I don't remember the author right now, but I started reading those and just thinking about health in a different way. And you know, from Staying Healthy with the Seasons, there's an article in there about sugar and all the havoc that it wreaks on health. So I was reading that when I was like 11 or something. and and then I learned about Chinese medicine in that book too, just basic Chinese medicine, but like the five element system and acupuncture and meridians and stuff like that. So as soon as I could, I was seeking out like acupuncture. You know, I started getting acupuncture when I was 15 and experimenting with Chinese herbs and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a progression of learning a lot, reading a lot. I've always loved to read and relating different things that I read to my own symptoms and figuring out what worked for me. And I do remember trying to really do like one thing at a time so I could see what the difference was. I was really experimenting a lot.
It's just that that is just an amazing way of being in your own freedom, let's say, of choosing what makes you feel good and discarding what makes you feel bad. Let's simple as it sounds, if we are more attuned to what how we feel and all those things, I think that's the beginning of the health concept.
Mm-hmm.
No, that we are supported by our parents, that we really pay more attention to our bodies and the way it feels, and of course, well, in your case, reading, which is something that not many children like to do, of course, no? Well, at least here in Mexico, they don't read too much. And that's something that can be changed also because you become a scientist by being 10 years old because you start testing things and you start applying things
Mhm.
in your own way, in your own simplicity, but uh, with a discipline to have more steps added to the equation that you wanted to solve that was starting to recover, no, from all of those symptoms. So during those readings, during those breakthroughs that you had with your own body, with your own health, what was the thinking process telling you about health?
Well, our current system seems to think that health comes from the outside. Like you have to go to a doctor to help you get healthy, and then they're going to find what's wrong with you and then fix that, and that's health. And that never sat right with me. And then the more experimenting I did on myself, I was like, well, you cut yourself. Does the doctor heal your cut?
Mm.
No, my body heals the cut. So healing is part of health. So where does health come from? I'm like, oh, well, it comes from inside me. Like all of my health is in here. I have all of that. So what do I do to support that? So it's just a perspective shift rather than looking at symptoms as being sick and getting rid of the symptoms to be healthy. I started looking at how do I grow the health that I already have?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's such an innate piece of our wisdom, but
Mm-hmm.
it gets really brainwashed out of us when we grow up in a system that's all about, you know, medication and, going to the doctor all the time for every little thing. And, and this, we start getting indoctrinated in this. I mean, when our moms are pregnant with us, they're sent to get ultrasounds all the time and all these tests done and all of this. So you'll have a healthy baby. Well, none of that's proven to give you a healthy baby. Like, our bodies know how to grow a child. And yeah, sometimes there are problems, and sometimes maybe those get caught in some of those prenatal visits, and that's great. But I think the looking for things that are wrong mentality is very strong in our medical system, and it brings in a lot of fear. And so we have a lot of fear around our bodies and our health and our power that we have to heal. Um, Whereas confidence would be a better thing to have. We'd get a lot further if we were building that confidence. And that's part of the first thing I do with people is to, with people that I work with or anyone I talk to, really, I'm just like, help them grow their confidence in their healing ability. Like, what did your body do really well today?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, isn't that cool? You digested your breakfast and put all those nutrients where they needed to go. Like no
Yeah.
doctor knows how to do that.
Yeah. No, they don't.
Only,
They don't even understand how the digestion process is, I think.
yeah. So, um, so yeah, that's
Yeah. Yeah. I really feel happy and talking to someone that understands that the the health system and the preparation of the medical um, students is just completely backwards because they teach them how to solve the problem by giving a pill, by memorizing medications, by memorizing the symptom, and just that. They know the symptom, they know what kind of pill they have to give you, but they don't know what is happening in the body. In
yeah.
in neither of those directions, they don't know why the body is showing symptoms, and they don't know many times how this medication is going to act in the way of not just silencing the problem, because many times is that what happens. The medication silence or hides the problem,
Mhm.
and then it awakens many other, or it uncovers many other problems that they were not there. No, it causes many other problems. So in the case of your daughter, what has been the kind of education that you have tried to give her so that she also learns how to manage her own health, if you've been able to, of course.
It's actually kind of mind blowing how well she manages it. I've never been strict about what she can or can't eat. I've never really told her what to do with her health, but I've always taught her about health, and about how her body works. Not even so much about health, but about how her body works. And so this is an interesting anecdote, or I think it is. Um, when she was maybe 2 or 3, we were at a birthday party and there was a cake with pink icing. And it was just sitting there for like hours. And finally, they cut the cake. And so she had a piece of cake. And she'd never had anything with food dye in it before. And I didn't really think about it. It was a birthday cake. And it wasn't like super crazy, like all the colors, it was just slightly pink icing. Well, that night, she vomited all night.
Mm.
And then I think it was about a year later, we were in an airport. We'd had a long, long, long day, missed flights, all the things. And so we were just waiting for our next flight at the bar, having, a drink and whatever. And the bartender gave her a maraschino cherry and she ate it. I didn't think anything of it. She vomited all night again. And she remembers that. She was 3.5. And so it's like, oh, both times she did that, because she was never a sick kid. And I don't consider that sick. So she had red dye. Both times she had red dye, she vomited all night, which I think is such an amazingly healthy response, because red dye is really toxic. But she remembers that. And so ever since then, since she was 3.5, she won't eat anything that has colors in it.
Mm.
And like our neighbors here, they walk around and give us all little gifts for the holidays. And like some of the cookies had crushed up candy canes on them.
Mm.
Those have red dye in them. And so she's like, well, who are we going to give these to? She won't even try it. She's 16 now, and she hasn't had an artificial color since she was 3.5. And that's all her decision. Like, I'm not strict about it. I don't tell her, no, you can't eat artificial colors. She's just like, oh, artificial colors, those are bad for me. I'm not going to eat those.
Yeah.
And so she's really learned to make very good choices. She doesn't like sugar that much. We have some honey and maple syrup because we live in Vermont. So
Yeah.
she makes maple syrup. So we have some natural sweeteners that we use, but she doesn't eat refined sugar. And that's all by her choice. Like if she wanted to go eat a piece of cake at someone's house, I'm not going to say no, but it doesn't make her feel good. And I guess that's the big thing that I've trained her to do, is really recognize how things make her feel.
Mm.
And respect that and never make it be wrong. Like any response that your body does is right. Our bodies are really smart. And it's when we fight against what our bodies are doing that we run into trouble. Like she's had a fever a few times, and every time she's had a fever, I've let her have the fever because I know that's the best antibiotic and antiviral that she can get. And so she's never really gotten much for symptoms because the fever takes care of things. And yeah, it's not like she loves having a fever, but she understands that it's the best medicine that her body's making. And so she really respects her body and its processes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really interesting to watch her grow into that and to talk to her friends about it, who are, they get a sniffle and they're taking an antihistamine, and she's like, what's an antihistamine? And And so, yeah, she's very healthy, very grounded. She doesn't have any like screen addictions or anything like that. She doesn't eat sugar, and it's all by her own choice. Um, yeah, so
Oh,
it's been a really amazing raising a child with holistic health in mind, especially, she's got half my genetics, and I know part of my health problems are genetically related because I have done genetic testing and I know why I've had so many problems. And so she's got those genetics, but genes are a blueprint. They don't have to get turned on. And with her, taking such good care of herself, those genes for like all the chronic stuff that I've dealt with, it's never gotten turned on for her. So she's great. She's super healthy. People tell me how lucky I am all the time that she's so healthy. And I'm like, no, it's not luck.
uh,
All
that's
part
what I
of
was going to
it.
say. It's not luck.
No. So,
It's wisdom. It's wisdom that you inherited to, well, you passed on to her genetically, and of course that in your own example, in the way you live your life, of course, you
mhm,
you don't, well, you are telling me that you are not very strict with her, but she watches you.
mhm,
She watches how you listen to your own body and how you don't consume things that other people might be consuming, or you don't give in into the social pressure of consuming whatever it is that is the season of. I mean, for instance, this December is full of holidays and sugar and candies and all of those things and alcohol and many of other things. So just watching yourself not doing those things by conviction, it's, I think, what has created such a healthy
mhm.
teenager, no? Now.
And she's stricter with herself than I am with myself. Like,
Well, I think that children many times improve the version that we are.
yeah, I think so.
So
Yeah.
she's gonna be really, really good in terms of how she takes care of her health, and of course, she has a very good example. The How do you say, the bar is high,
Yeah.
so she's not gonna lower it, and that's just amazing, because I think that is something that we should start doing with children. We should start uh, helping them to understand the body, not forcing them or not being strict with the way they eat, because they should be able to test and see what happens, but to know what is certain kind of foods, or say certain kind of things that are popular, what are they doing to their own body, what are they doing to their own mental health, to their own emotional health, because many times many of these anxiety issues and those things are also triggered by the amount of sugar that they consume, together with the amount of technology that they have. That's a perfect combination to raise anxiety to the roof. No.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like from such a young age, we have our power taken away from us when it comes to our bodies and our health, and to really teach kids about how amazing their bodies are. And that's something I've always done for my daughter is, you know, taught her like how her body works and like the structure of it and the processes that are happening within it. And I feel like once you have an understanding of those processes, which I didn't get until I was in medical school, and I'm studying biochemistry, I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. um, and just there's so many things going on all the time that our bodies are doing. And when you can tune into that too, I mean, one, to appreciate all the things, but then, yeah, to be able to tune in and be like, oh, I ate this amount of sugar and now I feel like this. do I want that? And then eating like protein instead and seeing how you feel after that. And, just taking in that information and relating it to what you're doing rather than getting like sucked into the next video game or whatever it is that kids are doing on their devices these days. I have no idea.
And that's also something that probably many people don't have in the radar, that the amount of distractions, the amount of technology that children consume, it's also giving them the worst examples and the worst perspective of the world, and how other children or people their own age are handling their own lives. So, in terms of that, how have you approached this wisdom to help her deal with that pressure of using or depending so much on the technology?
She's never really had much interest. So that has not been something like I have to, she has a driver's license now and she has her own car so she can go places. And I have to remind her to bring her phone with her just in case. So she's, and I think that's part of her health choices too, though, is that she's so grounded and so just herself in her body that she doesn't need to go, lose herself in social media. She does read a lot. She loves that. But yeah, she doesn't like screens. And I think that's a really smart thing for her body, and recognizing that the vibration of the screen or whatever doesn't make her feel good. It makes her brain feel kind of fuzzy. She's like, well, I don't want to do that. So, and I have, the brain and the nervous system are my kind of passion area as far as what my deepest education is in. So I've taught her a lot about how the brain works and how it controls and coordinates everything else in the body. And to really learn to respect all those processes that are happening and do good things for your brain. It's been a big piece. Yeah.
Yes. I was watching I think two days ago, a documentary about a woman that she's 96, and she was talking about how she's having her second childhood, and the one that she always wanted, because she now is connected with nature. She's now free to do many things that she couldn't do when she was a child. She had a very traumatic childhood. She doesn't mention about what, but I can imagine that it can be very traumatic for many people. And I think that I was thinking when I was watching that how much time, many times, we need to get to the circle of life and return to being a child, to being free of programs, of indoctrination of many things, and we start tapping into the wisdom of nature, just connecting with nature, looking more at the seasons, looking more at what is coming from the earth and consuming that, looking more at and how our body is feeling, and exercising also, because she was 96 and she was doing push-ups in the morning and she was climbing mountains and things like that. And I said, oh my God, I really want to get to that age with that stamina, with that energy, no? So what do you think about this longevity and the concepts that we have about growing and aging without so much, let's say, complaining about the aches or the things that happen, no?
Oh, so many thoughts. But one thing that you said is that connecting with nature. I actually recently did a YouTube video about that. And one of the things that our culture tends to do is separate us from nature. Like the example I think of is sunscreen. So vitamin D is, you need it for your cells to work. It's one of the best cancer preventatives, all of these things. And we're taught that the sun is dangerous and we need to put all these sunscreens on. And that just prevents us from soaking in vitamin D, because how our bodies get vitamin D, the best way is making it from getting sun on our skin. You can take it as a supplement, but it's not the same. It's not as good. And that's just one of the ways that we're taught to disconnect from nature. And so I think, keeping that connection strong, there's so many other pieces to it, like getting your feet on the ground, being in the fresh air. We tend to live very inside lives a lot of the time and be associating with screens so much, which we're doing right now. But I get outside every day too. Yeah. So that's a piece of it, keeping that nature connection, not losing that, and really appreciating that we are part of nature too, that we evolved with sun and air and dirt and all of these things. So that's a big piece. As far as aging goes, so many symptoms are blamed on aging. And in my mind, like, if you keep putting better information in, you should keep getting better results. And so if you keep building yourself up as you get older, then you should keep getting healthier. And that's what I've experienced myself. Like, I'm getting close to 50 now, and I am healthier now than I've ever been in my life, because I keep giving myself better information. And so I'm getting better results. And so I have fewer symptoms now than I did when I was 4. And so blaming things on aging, I think is, blaming symptoms on aging, I think is very misguided. And it makes people fear getting older and not take responsibility for how they treat their bodies and their minds and their social lives and all their spiritual lives. When you don't take responsibility for that stuff and you just are kind of expecting to, get the same results, even though you're not putting in the best information, like, your health is an expression of what you put into yourself. And, whether it's food or sunlight or thoughts or energy or whatever it might be, your health is an expression of that. And I think that we can all age way better if we put better information in.
Yes.
I know it works for me. Like, this has been my project my entire life, and it's paying off now in my 40s.
Yeah, that's so true. And many times our own bodies tell us what they need in the process of life, in the process of the decades that is coming. I'm also approaching 50, and I really feel much better than when I was 20 something, because I'm not doing the same things, I'm not consuming the same things, and I'm taking care of my body in a way that let's say I didn't have the time, but I was just indoctrinated into the busyness of life and consuming many things. And that's the excuse that many people tell, no? When they don't want to take care of their own health, they say, I don't have time. I don't have time to cook meals. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to read. I don't have time to, and that's the all over the excuse that many people use. And I think that's also uh, this a message that is wrong, that also culture and business and all those things have in view in us. So how do you handle these kind of excuses for people that are trying to reach a new level, but they are still in that zone of creating some excuses? No.
Well, step by step. You can't do everything all at once.
No.
And so in my mind and in the program I created, um it's for holistic health professionals who want to take their practices to the next level and really help their clients on a deeper level. And so I have like a progression. So the first thing is the mindsets, shifting the mindset from being, symptom oriented, like, oh, I have this symptom is bad, get a medication for it or go see a doctor for it, to, okay, what is my body doing really well? Where is my body powerful? What does that symptom mean, even? Because symptoms aren't bad.
No.
Symptoms are information. And we tend to get a symptom and just want it gone. And that's working against your body. So I start by teaching, and just having people like keep a daily journal on, not like they have to write a big whole journal entry unless they want to, but just one thing that their body's doing really well for them today. Like write that each day. And so to start shifting that mindset. And so a lot of, helping people reach a new level of health is really just changing their thinking and their habits, rather than like, you have to eat this and this and this, and you have to exercise this much. Like, it's good to have good food. It's good to move your body. But if you're only doing it because someone told you to, it's not going to like get you as far, So really shifting that mindset and making sure people understand how important stuff like sleep is. Like, so many people cut their sleep, and sleep is so important for all the healing. And for so many people, if they just got one more hour of sleep, it would solve so many of their problems. So those are two places where I start, is mindset, and then teaching people better sleep habits. And then we work on other things like their gut health and their nutrition and, all the other things that can happen. But those are big.
So what I'm listening is that this program is not, let's say, for people to fit in a wedding dress or in a 15 party-year-old dress. It's for people that want to create a lifestyle, no? Because those are two different kind of people, no? The ones that look for a diet and they just want to fit into clothes or look or appear in a certain way, and people that really are doing it because of their own bodies, because of their own peace of mind, let's say, no? So that's a really different approach. And in terms of dealing with, I think, or I assume that you have been dealing with several professionals, several physicians that are trained in the old way. How do you approach that mindset, or how do you allow them to open their minds into a new mindset of health? Because implementing a new healthcare system, it's a big challenge, because we have to, let's not use the word fight, but we want to implement a new thinking, no, a new way of perceiving health.
Yeah, so I don't think we can change or fix the system that exists right now. And that's why I talk about creating a new system. And I call my program the Revolution Health Building Academy because, well, a few reasons. I think revolution really sums up what we need to do with our healthcare system, but also revolution comes from the people. It doesn't come from the big corporations. It doesn't come from the big money. It doesn't come from any of that. It comes from the people who want their lives to be better. And so by making change on individual levels and then educating those around us, I think that's where the big change is really going to come from, and where we can shift the focus of of health and make it actually be about building health rather than treating symptoms or looking for problems. Because, there is preventive health care out there, but it's always looking for problems. It's like, mammograms and colonoscopies and stuff. You're looking to find something wrong. It doesn't improve your health at all.
Mhm.
So yeah, the revolution, educating the people so that more people can educate more people. And that's why I created my program, so that we can have, as holistic professionals, have a common language. Because I think that will help more people get on board. It's just that if we're all speaking more of a common language. And I also don't see the future of healthcare being in the hands of doctors alone. I
Mm.
think it's in the hands of the people, and those people may be just individuals that don't have health as a passion, but want to keep themselves healthy, or it may be people that are holistic health coaches or want to work in the holistic health field in some way and can educate others about how health works.
Mhm.
So I think because doctors, they're going to be looking for something wrong that they can treat. And I if we're all building health, we don't need to be looking for wrong things. And you don't need tons and tons of training in order to do that. Like, you don't need to go on surgical rounds in order to build health. And so that's why I created the program I created, because it covers like all the basics of how to build health, but it can be for someone who's already a holistic health professional or someone who wants to be a holistic coach. It'll give them all the training that they need in order to help others build health. It could even be for an individual who doesn't want to do it professionally but wants to help their family. It's accessible to pretty much anyone who has an interest. And yeah, so much of health is common sense,
Mhm.
but we've gotten far away from it. Like, I mean, who would say that sleep isn't good for you?
Yeah.
Nobody would say that, but yet it's one of the things that gets cut so often. So you can, go to the movies late and get up for work early or whatever it might be. So you lose, half the sleep that you need and wonder why you're grouchy the next day. Like, there's a lot of common sense involved, but I feel like I've created a good language around it to help people really come together with health common sense.
Yeah, for instance, these dates of the holidays, many people have dinners at 12 p.m. and even children stay up very late just to comply with the social uh, things or gatherings or whatever it is. My daughter just had a night where she slept at 4 a.m. And I said, why did you sleep at that hour? I have told you many, many times that you don't have to do that. But she was guided by the family of her mother, and that's the way they are. And so I cannot do much there. So, but those things happen very, very often. And I also had an experience in my own body that in these days I have felt my body that was very low in energy. I think I was doing too much exercise throughout the year because I perform more or less 90 minutes, sometimes even more than 90 minutes of exercise, 6 days a week, the
Wow.
whole year. So my body was tired. It was just that. It was just that. And I listened because many times I'm very stubborn and I love to do exercise and I have too much energy. So I have to burn all that energy. So just one day I rested really well, one day and a half, let's say. And today that I went to do exercise again, I said, "Oh my God, I feel like it's already January." And I'm ending also December. So it's so funny how a good night of sleep or just 2 nights of good sleep, more than 8 hours, of course, recovers your body in a way that no vitamin or multivitamin is gonna do it. So
Mm.
That's how important sleep is, no?
Yeah, that's funny that what you were saying about the exercise. You know, today it's like I have to take the day off. I have to let my body rest. Like, not gonna ski today. I'm not going out in the snow. Yeah, so today's my day off from exercising. It's good for me. And yeah, the sleep thing is interesting, and I find it so odd too that so many of our celebrations involve sugar and alcohol and staying up late, which are all such bad things for you. New Year's Eve is coming up, and my daughter's been invited to babysit New Year's Eve, and she's like, but wouldn't I have to like be there till midnight? Like, well, probably later, because then the parents are going to get home at like 1, and so then you'd probably get home at like 2. And she's like, no, I need to be in bed by 9. But that's, so classic, and all these places are having parties where they have champagne at midnight. So not only are you staying up really late, but you're having alcohol really late, which makes it so your body can't metabolize it anyway. And then alcohol is a whole other story that's just so culturally normalized, but really, really bad for your health. And people don't realize how bad. So between the alcohol and the lack of sleep and the overdoing the sugar, yeah, the holiday season is kind of a mess.
It's a combo so that people arrive to January like dragging instead of by really full of energy. They are just depleted in January, and that's why they don't even make it to the end of the month with the how do you say, with the resolutions that they want to have, no? Yeah. So it's the story all over again. Next year is the same, and next year is the same, until they break down those toxic cycles. And that's something that for me now it's so obvious that we are sabotaging ourselves many times, and we are leading us to being sick or to being depleted in energy, because we are not treating our bodies with respect, no? Or just we don't even have the time to listen. Yes, because many people say, I don't have time to lead. I don't even know how to listen to my body. Of course you don't know how, because you are never in silence, no?
Yeah. But I feel like that's also an opportunity to bring some awareness for people, because, so many people say they need a cup of coffee at 3 p.m. They're listening to their body, and then that they feel tired at 3 p.m. But that's not because of a lack of coffee, as we know, as holistic health professionals. But to get them to recognize that isn't because of a lack of coffee, that's a symptom of how they're treating their life, and, give them ways that they could maybe shift that one thing. Okay, well, how about you try going to bed an hour earlier and eating protein at lunchtime, and then see how you feel at 3 p.m. So many people also are like skipping lunch, or they're not getting enough sleep, then they're skipping lunch or just having a salad for lunch, and then wondering why they're tired at 3 p.m. and then having coffee. And then, of course, that's going to throw off their sleep, because the half-life of caffeine it's a lot bigger than you think. And so there's still caffeine in their systems still. I mean, if they have coffee at 3, they still have caffeine in their systems at 3 a.m. And so their sleep isn't going to be as good as it can be. So it's just this cycle. And sometimes when you can just shift that one piece of the cycle with a bit of awareness, it's an opportunity that can open a lot up for people. So any way that I can find someone being aware of what their body's doing, even if they're like, oh, this hurts and I have to take ibuprofen every day. I'm like, okay. Let's take a step back. Your pain isn't because of a lack of ibuprofen. Why are you having pain? And so always looking at the why behind the symptom that they're talking about, whether it's like that mid-afternoon fatigue or the need for ibuprofen. Like there are a lot of ways to kind of hack the system a little bit and just bring some more awareness, and really show someone that that symptom that they don't like is their body being smart and give
No.
them good information. You're not tired. You're not tired because you need coffee. You're tired because you didn't get enough sleep last night and you didn't get enough nutrition today.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
It's just a changing of the perspective of seeing things and understanding things, of course. And it's so ironic how people take care of their cell phones or their cars or any other thing, any other material thing, and they take care of them as thorough as they should be with their own bodies.
Yeah.
And the body can stand or withstand many things that we do, but at some point it's going to complain. At some point it's going to say enough because you don't seem to listen. So I will give you a sign, which is the symptom, so that you pay more attention to me, because I think you are being oblivious of many of the things that I do for you and ungrateful many times of many of the things. And this is something to wake you up. This is just something so that you can watch your own body and recognize that you need to do something different. But as you say, we look for the instantaneous option, that is the pill, because we don't have time many times, and we end up in those cycles.
Yeah.
So it's so funny how health needs to be shifted, or let's say, how do you say, shaken. Health has to be shaken so that we understand that health is what we have, and
Mm-hmm.
we start losing it, but because we want it, not because the body is doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
No.
It's really good to pay attention to your health before you lose it.
Exactly.
One of
Yes.
the things I've been saying for years is it's a lot easier to stay well than to get well.
Exactly.
And like, you can't argue with that. So there's lots of ways to stay well. It's a lot harder to regain your health once you've lost it. And most people don't tend to pay attention though until they've lost it, which is sad. So trying to shift that mindset about health.
And in these equations of teaching people and training people in a new healthcare system, how those, or what is the role of emotions in this landscape?
Of emotions.
Yes.
I mean, emotions are, they need to be felt. And I really don't believe that there are any negative emotions. And I think we get a lot of problems when we are told that we're not supposed to be angry or sad or whatever, those things that don't feel as good as like excitement or joy. And then we suppress those because we're not supposed to cry or whatever it is. So I think feeling what you feel is really important, and shutting that down can lead to a lot of problems. It's unfortunate that we're not taught to feel. At least, I mean, I guess we're probably about the same age. I certainly wasn't as a child. And still, I don't get that support from my family to feel the things, and really feeling them. Like, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to grieve, it's okay to be angry, as long as you're not hurting people with your anger. But there are healthy ways to express your anger. And I've actually had a very grief-full week this week.
Mm.
And so that's why I had to take today off from skiing, because I've been dealing with it by going skiing every day and just getting myself out in the fresh air in solitude so that I can just be with my thoughts and with my emotions and do something with my body that's not just sitting on the couch and crying. Um,
Mm.
and that's the best way I know how to grieve, how to process those emotions. I feel like people need to find their own ways, and there's, lots of support for that too, but finding an activity that you love
Mhm.
that can kind of take you out of your mind a bit. We all tend to like think a lot and get really heady, and if you can just like be in your body and feel it, I think that is a really important way to help process emotions in a healthy way. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I also relate a lot with what you said about emotions, because for me also, when I feel any kind of deep emotion like sadness or being angry, my first go-to is exercise, or is doing some activity that keeps my body in motion. Sometimes it's even walking and not listening to anything but my own thoughts, and just witnessing how the thoughts start being heavy, and as you move, as you go in the kilometers or miles, or the, your mind starts to feel peaceful,
mhm.
and many of those emotions start to being processed, to being felt. And sometimes it's also good to watch something. For instance, for me also, it's good to watch something that I know that is going to make me cry, so
Mhm.
I cry, and I relate to whatever I'm watching, and that's it. And journaling is another one for me, to just process many of those emotions by writing uh, how I feel and watching it in the paper, or sometimes I do it in the computer.
Mhm.
So many times I do that, and for me it's really an outlet of many emotions, and all of those things don't need medication.
No. And,
Also, no.
and I think that's really an important piece too, is to make sure you're feeling your emotions and not suppressing them with medication.
Mhm.
And if, and really questioning if someone prescribes a medication for you, in any case. But since we're talking about emotions, particularly in that case of like depression or anxiety, those kind of chronic things that can really wreak havoc on your life, there are other reasons for that than lack of an SSRI. And a big
Yeah,
thing that I've found with depression and anxiety is actually it's related to your gut health. So between gut health, vitamin D, and getting good sleep, like most people can turn that around without any medications, especially, finding that activity that you like to do, even if it is just going for a walk every day. There are a lot of ways to manage that don't involve medication. And I think any prescription should be deeply questioned, especially if it's one of the ones that you're meant to take with no end date in sight.
mm, yeah.
Lots of them are. And I believe that medications and supplements should be short term for a purpose. Sometimes supplements, one or two, you might need to take longer term. But how I work with them is that you take them, for a month or two for a specific purpose, and then move on to working on something else. So um, any any prescriptions, whether it's supplements or medications, they should be questioned for sure.
Mm, thanks. Thanks for rounding up, I think, the whole healthcare discussion, I think. So just to wrap up the conversation, what can you tell people about this um, new system of healthcare that you are promoting the revolution of these uh, paradigms, no, that we have had.
Well, the big idea is that it's actually a health care system.
Mm-hmm.
The system that we work within now, that's covered by insurance and all of that, that's all about being sick and treating symptoms and looking for things that are wrong. Like, I tried billing insurance for a while, but I had to diagnose something wrong with someone every time. And a lot of people were just coming to me to grow their health because that's always been my philosophy. And so I couldn't keep billing insurance because I had to diagnose something wrong with people. And honestly, I don't believe there's anything wrong with anyone. I think our bodies are doing the best they can with the information they're given. I think the input can be a lot better a lot of the time, but they're doing the best they can with what they have.
Mm-hmm.
So the big shift that I'm looking to create in the healthcare system is that it's all about building health. Like, even when people talk about preventative care, I'm like, well, yeah, but if you bring in that word preventative, that means you're still focusing on something going wrong, on a disease, because you're preventing that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to focus on building and creating. And there's so much health to be built. And we have so much potential to create health in our bodies, in our minds, in our emotions, in our relationships, in our spiritual selves. And that's all part of it. And they're really all the same thing. All of those aspects, they're all part of the whole. And the more health we can create, the better world we're going to have. My big vision is that, the healthier people are, the happier they are. And the happier they are, the kinder they are. The kinder they are, the more peaceful they are. So if we can get everyone really healthy and happy and kind, then we can have world peace.
Yes, yes, I agree. I completely agree with that. When you feel good, you don't have a reason to do, let's say, dumb things, no? For for better of or for not saying a bigger word. No, let's say. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being here, for your honest and very enlightening conversation that we had. I really, really support your revolution. I am joining that revolution with you because I also think that health is our own business and not everyone else or any external entity is has to be part in our health. So thank you, and thank you everyone for listening. I really encourage you to give us questions, to visit Elizabeth's website, which she's gonna mention. Where can people find you?
Yeah, my website is drelizabethdavidson.com. The DR it's not spelled out doctor, just DR. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. And I have a YouTube channel that I've actually been working pretty hard on lately. Again, it's Dr. Elizabeth Davidson. So there's a lot of videos on there that people can watch. And I'm always happy to answer questions and just create conversation about these things that I'm passionate about. And so yeah, any of those places are good places to find me. And, on my website, there's like a contact form. People can do that. Or if they make a comment on one of my YouTube videos, I will respond. I promise. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And we will listen to each other on our next episode. Thank you, everyone. And see you in the next one. Bye.